Hi, class. We are on the topic called the integumentary system. And the integumentary system is going to consist of the skin, the hair, your oil glands, your sweat glands, the nails, your sensory receptors. And it's really designed to help kind of protect us, right? To kind of protect the internal environment of the body. Um, it helps to maintain body temperature. It helps to maintain body temperature. It's the skin is involved in uh, being able to produce vitamin D. We need the sun, the UV rays to hit the subcutaneous cholesterol on the skin. And then we have some precursors that go from the skin to the liver and eventually to the kidneys to make it bioavailable and active for us. The skin provides sensation. We know that when we touch something sharp or dull or hot or cold, it's constantly relaying information to our neural system. And it helps to maintain just homeostasis in a variety of ways. And you can review that on this slide. It just shows how every single system works in conjunction with the integumentary system somehow to maintain homeostasis. It doesn't work by itself. There are actual connections to the skeletal system, to the muscular system, to the neural system, to the endocrine system, the digestive, every single system it relates to. So when we think of the skin, we'll talk about the skin first. We think of it as our first line of defense, right? It's a first line of defense against environmental hazards. If you rub up against something sharp, it protects us. If there's some sort of chemical or an acid or a strong base that's lying around and it touches your skin's going to protect the all the inner parts. The skin's going to regulate your body temperature. The skin has its own microbiome on it that's so important that helps to keep your body healthy. This is why during COVID, everyone was putting alcohol on their hands and using antibacterial wipes. And it's very, very dangerous to use that on the hands. Your hands, much like the mouth, much like the stomach, much like the gut, have its own microbiome and it helps to keep things in check. And you don't want to have bad bacterial overgrowth of anything on the hand. So it helps to keep things in check. They've done studies with this years ago, 20, 30 years ago. I remember clearly when they were doing swabs in people's kitchens. And they were looking to see if there was a difference in a person who used regular soap and water versus using antibacterial soaps and antibacterial sponges on the glasses and on the plates and on the silverware. And what they found after a 30-day time frame was that the bacterial count, parts per million, were significantly higher in the people that were using the antibacterial sponges and the antibacterial wipes. Why is that? Probably because that which fails to kill me makes me stronger, right? Think about what happens if it's a summer day, you're having a barbecue and a picnic, and there are flies and bugs around the garbage can. And then there's another garbage can nearby and there's no flies. Well, you would look at it and go, well, this can with all the flies have all the garbage in it, and they're attracting all these bugs. And the other garbage can has nothing, and there's no bugs around it. So a person comes around and they take bug spray and they spray around the garbage can that has all the bugs. What ends up happening is it kills the bugs that got direct contact of that spray. But there were some bugs in the periphery that just got a whiff of it, that didn't get direct contact. So they go away, they build up immunity, and then they come back. And you go, huh, they're back. Where's that spray? And then you use the same spray on those bugs, And the spray that worked the first time doesn't work on those bugs the second time because they build up resistance to it. So then you have to use something stronger. So you get a stronger bug spray. You get a stronger bug spray, you spray it on those bugs, and it kills those that got direct contact of the spray. But then there are some around the periphery that got a whiff of it. They didn't die because they didn't get a strong dosage of it. They got a whiff of it. So they leave. Then they come back, and you go, oh my God, the bugs are back. So you use the stronger spray on that, and guess what happens? Nothing. It doesn't kill them because they built up resistance to something stronger. That which fails to kill me makes me stronger. This is what happens when children are raised and brought up on excessive amount of antibiotics is we create superbugs. This is why they don't want people in a hospital for an extended period of time because they know they're going to pick up something if they're in there for an extended period of time. They want to get them in and get them out as fast as possible. So keep in mind, in my office, in my home, we just have regular soap and water. It's a little bit harder to find, regular soap that's not antibacterial. That's how strongly I happen to feel about it based on the science. Skin is very important, makes up about 16% of the total body weight. We know that it protects us against impact, against abrasions, against fluid loss, against chemicals or chemical spills. The skin is involved with excretion of salts and water. We tend to get rid of about 500 milliliters of water a day, which is about a pint. And some of the water that we get rid of is non-sensible. Like obviously, if you're exercising and sweating, you're aware of that. That's called sensible perspiration. But then there's insensible that is through just moisture coming off of the skin when we speak, the moisture that comes through the air that comes out of our mouth when we're communicating. There's always moisture that's lost. That's insensible perspiration. Temperature, because we have adipocytes, which are fat cells, they help to insulate us and keep us warmer. There's also an evaporative effect, obviously, of sweating, right? When your body is getting hot, we sweat to cool us off, right? That evaporative effect. The synthesis of vitamin D3. So the sunlight hits the skin, it hits the subcutaneous cholesterol on the skin, and it stimulates these vitamin D precursors that go to the liver first, where it makes some more vitamin D precursors, or what we call hydroxylation, and it ends up going to the kidneys, where it ends up making calcitriol. And the calcitriol, that form of vitamin D, helps with the absorption of calcium and phosphorus from the gastrointestinal tract. And it's designed to increase the deposition of that calcium into the bones. The skin can store lipids or fats. It stores lipids through the adipocytes, and it's involved in receptors to be able to detect touch or pressure, light touch, deep touch, pain, temperature. It relays all that information to the neural system, whether you have tactile receptors, Basinian corpuscles, Meissner's corpuscles, they're all receptors. The dermis has so many blood vessels that it can hold about 8 to 10% of the total blood flow while an adult is at rest. So it's a very important organ. You don't have blood supply in the epidermis, but you do have it in the dermis, in the deeper layer. Let's look at the structure of the skin. So the skin has those two major layers, the epidermis and dermis. The epidermis is the superficial layer, and the dermis is deeper. And we know even in the epidermis, there are 4 to 5 microscopic layers, and in the dermis, there's 2 microscopic layers. Beneath that is the hypodermis. Sometimes they call it the subcutaneous or the sub-Q layer. It's deep to the dermis, but it's not a layer of the skin. It's composed of areolar tissue and adipose tissue. So when we look at the skin, we see over here off to the right, we see that top layer is epidermis, and it's made up of 5 layers. Then beneath it is the dermis, which is made up of these 2 layers, the papillary and reticular layer. And then here's the sub-Q down at the bottom that's made up of the fat cells. And you could see in the dermis, we have lots of other accessory structures. We have some neurological tissue. We have some muscle tissue. We have liquid connective tissue. You have blood. We have some glands, some sebaceous glands and sweat glands. So there's lots of other structures that lie here. And that's why the skin is the first organ that we discuss, or the first system we discuss, because it's made up of all 4 types of tissue. It's made up of epithelium that's in the epidermis. It's made up of connective tissue in the dermis. It's made up of muscle, and it's made up of nerve. So all 4 tissue types are found in the skin. The type of doctor that helps people with skin disorders, we call that individual a dermatologist. That's the person who treats disorders, not just of the skin, but they can also look at the nails and the hair. So this is also showing different types of degrees of burn to the skin, where you have your 1st-degree burn, which is just affecting the epidermis. You get a 2nd-degree burn, where you get your blister, and that's epidermis and dermis. And then you get your 3rd-degree burn, which is right through all layers. The one that's most painful, believe it or not, isn't the 3rd-degree burn. This one's not as painful because the nerve endings are destroyed. This one with the blister is actually more painful in a 2nd-degree burn. There are 4 different types of skin cells: the keratinocytes, melanocytes. We have immune cells that are called Langerhans cells. And then we have tactile epithelial cells that are called Merkel cells. The keratinocytes make up the majority of the skin cells. The melanocytes produce melanin, which gives us our skin pigmentation. The Langerhans, remember I said your skin is part of the immune system. This is going to alert other body systems and other body parts that, hey, we have an invader. There's something that's invading or broken the skin. And then you have your sensors for, hot, cold, light touch, deep pressure. You've got your receptors here. Now, when we look at the skin, we'll see that we have layers of the epidermis. And there's 5 main layers of epidermis in areas that we have thick skin. Okay, so in the palms of the hand and the soles of the feet is where we have thick skin. So we'll see off to the left, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of the epidermis. And a little silly mnemonic to help remember the layers are share, loves, getting, skin, Botox. Share, loves, getting, skin, Botox. So each layer is called stratum. Stratum means layer. So there's a stratum corneum, stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum, stratum spinosum, and stratum basal. The lucidum, it's this layer right here. That's the additional layer that's only found where we have thick skin. It's not found in areas other than the palm and the soles of the feet, right? We have thick skin, you're going to have these layers. So down here at the bottom, at the stratum basal layer, we have stem cells. Stem cells are undifferentiated cells that can give rise to keratinocytes. These are all keratinocytes. So the stem cells, they're found in the deepest part of the layer of the epidermis, and the body wants to protect this. So we have melanocytes just next to them protecting this basal layer, so that when UV rays come down and hits the melanocyte, The melanocyte releases melanin, which is this black substance. It looks green here, but it's this black pigment that fills in the space between the keratinocytes so that when the UV rays come down, the mela, right, the black substance absorbs the UV rays, protecting all of these stem cells. Okay, so these stem cells multiply and divide, and they push up, 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 all the way up till eventually the cells move up to become the stratum corneum, which is made up of dead cells. And it takes about 30 days for the cells to go from the basal layer all the way at the bottom to make it all the way to the top. It takes about 30 days. People that have a skin disorder called psoriasis, it can take 4 to 5 days for the cells to move up. And that's when the skin looks a little bit shiny, silvery, and scaly. And the term psoriasis comes from the word basadi. In Greek, basadi means fish. So the people that have psoriasis, the skin kind of has the scaly, fishy look on the top where it's silver and flaky, and can happen in areas like behind the knee, in front of the knee, behind the elbows, behind the scalp, behind the ears. So these are the different layers. The stratum corneum is the dead layer. The lucidum means clear. The granulosum is granular and produces some oils to help lubricate the skin. And the spinosum has a spiny look. And the basal layer has the stem cells. You may have heard of people that have basal cell carcinoma. Basal cell carcinoma is a cancer of these cells. You can see the Langerhans cells. These are immune cells. You can see our tactile receptors, our nerve, the neurological tissue down at the bottom. And again, this is just another slide showing those same layers. And again, it shows us the function of the keratinocytes, the melanocytes, the Langerhans cells, and the Merkel cells. And you should be familiar with their primary functions.